Hello, everyone. This is Chris Classic doing the Midnight's Take It Home podcast. I hope you guys are having a wonderful morning. Good morning. I'm thankful that the good Lord has blessed us for another morning. Maybe midnight, maybe considered late, maybe considered early, but I am glad that we are alive for another day. Um, Before we go on, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not. Also, to subscribe to the C3 Ultimate Wrestling channel as well. I hope everything is going on. And before we start everything, let's make sure that I get the promotion game going on right. Make sure I'm going to tell you guys the next things that's going on for me, wrestling wise, as we May 28th of May to remember at Appleton, Wisconsin. Very good show for Now That's Wrestling. Like I said, I've been trying to make a name for myself in Wisconsin, and I'm glad that Now That's Wrestling gives me the opportunity. These guys are very awesome. It's a very good company, very family oriented and everything. You have a lot of fun. You have a mix of a whole bunch of fantastic wrestling. Also, June 18th is the C3 Ultimate Wrestling Show. We are officially back and running. Good evening, Steve. What up, Daniel? Thank you for commenting. I hope you are having a wonderful day. Hope you're having a wonderful time. June 18th, Kingdom Come, Gene Shepherd Community Center. Early show. We always do early shows. Doors open 12:30 p.m. Showtime is at 1 o'clock. We do things early, man. We do things great. We have a few matches that we have already talked about. I have to upload another match that was announced yesterday, which is the tag team title match between Legit and the Mystery Team. We can't tell you anything yet. You have to show up June 18th to see the live reaction. We have our championship match with Miles Mercer and Just Amazing. We have Aaron Stone versus Jackson Pete Larkin for the C3 Urban Culture Championship. We have myself going against the BIG of the 313, Cassidy Keith. And we also have Kevin Young Sr. as the host for the events. It's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great time as I put myself on the screen. All right, guys. I hope you guys are doing great. Shout out to the Lisa. I see you watching. I wanted to talk about these releases that we were informed on yesterday. Now, let me say this before I go on about these releases. So the people who have been released, if they see this or if somebody ever sends them, who knows? Or anybody who are wrestlers like me who have been promised something or they were supposed to be booked somewhere and then it fell through or somebody lied or manipulated or anything like that, it's okay. It will be okay. You know, you cry, you be upset, but let's make this a stepping stone in our life. Let's make this stepping stones and things like that. You know, they may call back. You just never know. And for the ones that are saying that they should just go to this company or that company, you know, give these people time. You know, people had to adjust to work for this company and everything like that. And to say, oh, we'll do this and do that, it don't work like that. You know, the money might have been good. They might have a family. They might be stationed there somewhere. You just never know. So, you know, let's not be inconsiderate by what some of these guys and gals are going through when it comes to wrestling and stuff like that. You know, support them. You could support their events. Some have podcasts. Some will do wrestling shows. Some have OnlyFans. You know, you could be the Myron of their OnlyFans account. You can do something like that. But, you know, don't just fantasy book what they're going to do. You get what I'm saying? Give them some time. You know, support them. Give them some time, whatever. Some spoke about it and some have not. So I just wanted to talk about some of the releases, and I also want to talk about similar to releases and how it is on the independent scene and other companies, and some things about valid reasons for letting some people go. So as I'm going to share my screen, we're going to go over some of the people who were released yesterday. And then this is as of May 1st, 2022. Like, you know that usually they'll have a day or a week of releases or whatever like that. So we're going to go with this one. So far, since yesterday, oh, Lordy, the newest list includes names like Dakota Kai, Dexter Loomis, Harlan, who was known as Parker Boudreaux. I hope I'm saying his name right. Malcolm Bivens, Raylan Devine, Mila Malani, Draco Anthony, Sanjana George, Persia Parada, and Paige Prinzavali. Believe I'm saying her name correctly. If I'm not, I apologize. So I want to talk about this, right, with some of these releases. So WWE has been doing a massive haul of releases for the past few years. And, a lot of them are saying budget cuts. Now, I don't think all of these are budget cuts because they are making profit, but they are a business at the end of the day. So if you're making profit, you're probably going to try to save more money. This is a business move that a lot of businesses do. And it does suck because people lose out on an opportunity, or some people, this was their dream. And even to this day, regardless of how people feel about WWE, a lot of people want to work for WWE. It's their dream job. They grew up watching it and stuff like that. I know a lot of people have changed and want to just wrestle and just make it and stuff like that. But, some people giving it their all, it sucks to see even a Dakota Kai, who I thought was a very talented wrestler, who I felt they could have just brought her to the main roster. But hearing that they just didn't want to pull a trigger on it is kind of confusing a little bit. With Dakota, she grew on me when she was going against Rhea Ripley. I believe Rhea Ripley was the UK Women's Champion, or it was one of those things. And Dakota was the underdog in it, and the crowd was really behind her. And Rhea Ripley was playing a very good heel in the situation. So I was like, that could have transitioned very well on a SmackDown or a Raw or anything like that. Now, the stuff with Raquel Rodriguez, formerly Gonzalez, it was interesting and stuff like that. But then the schizo thing, I really wasn't feeling what they were doing and stuff like that. So she said, she had a couple tryouts, and when it didn't go through, she already knew she wasn't going to renew her contract. So she knew it was probably best for her interest to not sign with the company. Another shocking one was Malcolm Bivens, guy from Diamond Mine. This guy was gold and was very interested, but he said he wasn't going to renew when they gave him the opportunity. Now, I don't know if it was a money issue. I don't know if it was something backstage, because some people, sometimes it's the atmosphere that makes people not want to renew contracts. So sometimes other companies give them more money or going to offer them, but sometimes people want freedom. With WWE, you're not as free as other companies working things and getting certain deals. Now, I know that WWE is now doing a lot of things where they're changing their format on the policies and things that you can do for appearances and stuff like that. But who knows what it is? Shout out to him. A lot of people were more shocked towards Parker Boudreaux, aka Harlan. Now, this is the thing, right? Especially if it's WWE. When it goes to WWE, let me put this back on me. When it goes to WWE, when somebody says that you're the next something, don't listen to them. Just walk away. It never really, it doesn't really work that well when somebody says you're going to be the next something. With Parker, we knew that just looking at him, he looked like Brock Lesnar's son. So a lot of people, and even Paul Heyman, to my knowledge, was saying that this guy was going to be like the next Brock Lesnar and stuff like that. And I think WWE, to their credit, they did try to make him look different from Brock Lesnar. And yeah, he was with what's his name, Joe Gacy, and he was like the silent guy or whatever like that. But they were trying to make him the next Brock Lesnar. Well, I mean, a lot of people hyped him up as the next Brock Lesnar, who is one of the biggest stars in wrestling today. And sometimes that can be a curse in wrestling. You remember when Drew McIntyre was supposed to be the future? That was like years ago when he was like a lot skinnier and stuff like that. And look what happened with that. So yeah, stay away from those people, even though they're trying to be good. I'm joking, but I'm serious at the same time. Who was another one? Remember Mason Ryan, the guy who really did look like Batista pre-evolved form? People thought big of him as well. And then when they seen him wrestle or whatever like that, they just didn't like, what it was. It just didn't click. Now, from what I'm hearing from Parker Boudreaux's, I hope I'm saying his name right, from his case, they were saying he just wasn't getting it. He just wasn't clicking. It just wasn't working and stuff like that. And that was one of the reasons why they let him go. Now, with WWE and with any company, that kind of statement is very subjective, because a lot of people would like to say, well, this person isn't ready. Why does this person have a title? Or this person is ready. This person should have a title and stuff like that. But sometimes, even for the safety of him or her or any other wrestler, it is good to say, like, hey, maybe this person may not take it seriously, or maybe this person still needs work and we just don't want to give them time. Now, it sucks because NXT 2.0 obviously is supposed to be like the starting thing where they're getting rid of the older people and they're starting to train and push the newer guys. And then even with the next in line, the NIL program, you know that they're going to be on NXT and what is it, NXT Next Level or whatever they're calling it. But yeah, it does suck that happened. With other releases like Persia, she was in a storyline with what's his name? Duke Hudson, Dexter Loomis, who was also released, and Indy Hartwell. It was cheesy, but it was interesting to me. But it sucks that happened, you know, that he got released and she got released as well. You know, you would think that, like, you could find something to do, like, especially how, like, committed Dexter Loomis was to his character. And I remember him being Samuel Shaw in Impact Wrestling, and he was stalking Christy Hemme. And I thought that he did a great job with that character. A little too good, but he did good. So you could tell he was devoted to every character that he had to play, because I remember him, I believe, wrestling in Chuck Taylor's and Gut Check and Impact. And it was just like, you know, after that, he found his way. So with releases do suck. Even like Draco Anthony, I remember they were just doing promo packages for this guy. Some, like I said, some of these people were in current storylines. They were legit on TV last week. And through the internet, we know what's going on. And like I said, it is unfortunate. Keep your head up, you know, find what you want to do. Some may be back. Is WWE, or that's any company. But releases, let's talk about these. Let's talk about just the sake of releases. Now, with the internet, we see when people are released, how quick they are released, and sometimes why they got released. But do y'all remember when y'all was like little and you had no idea that people was released? Hold on, somebody commented. Robert Brown, Lafayette, Indiana in the building. What's happening? What's going on, bro? Good to hear from you. Good to hear from you. But remember when we was younger, like, we didn't know nothing about releases and stuff like that. Like, if you was a fan of, like, let's say D'Lo Brown, and you see him one week, and then you'd be like, all right, I can't wait to see D'Lo next week, and then you don't see him, and then you don't see him next month and stuff like that. Then it's just like, dang, well, they must have let him go or something like that. It was always an assumption about what's going on. That's the funny part about how the internet works. See, in 2007, when I moved up here, that's when I started learning more of the interworkings of the wrestling companies and stuff like that. And then people would say, oh, well, yeah, even a website, WWE would say they future endeavor. Other companies will say it too. And even like rumor mill wrestling websites. I used to go to a website called Wrestling Revealed, and it would tell me who was released or who was coming into another company and stuff like that. That's just how I wanted to be in. Now, those kind of sites do hurt the business. I will say that. But that was my biggest take from releases when I was younger. Now, looking at releases now, releases are just exclusive to WWE. You have a couple wrestlers who were released from AEW. And when I say released, I don't want to just say as in the company let them go. It was more like they quit or they couldn't come to an agreement. Ryan was blood. Oh, yeah. That's why they should train them before they go on TV. He was on TV not too long. Wasn't that standout? Yeah, and that's the thing. With Mason Ryan, he really looked like Batista. And regardless of how he looked or what moveset he was, they pushed him like he was stopping Kane and beating up Kane, and Kane got beat up by Batista first and stuff like that, and then putting him in a stable. You know, Batista was in a stable as well, and it's like it was just too similar to even like try to differentiate. Now I know he does like Cirque du Soleil or whatever like that. You know, shout out to him for that. But going back into releases, top companies release people. Sometimes it's contract obligations. Sometimes they meet the agreement. Sometimes people quit. Sometimes it's injury. Sometimes it's a whole bunch of things. It's just a whole bunch of factors. Now with WWE gets the brunt of hatred and upset of people being upset because they do just randomly release people sometimes. But I also think in the same time, we don't know everything that happened behind the scenes on why some people got released. Some might be attitude, some might not be some might be, just not want to leave. Sometimes they don't want to get, paid more. Sometimes they want to get paid more and they can't get paid more. Or sometimes there might be somebody in the back that gave them a hard time. So these are things that could contribute to that. I mean, like even what's her name, Cassie Lee, right? I know they just retired the Inspiration, but when she got released, she was saying she got released because Vince was literally talking to her and said, "What do you like to do?" And the first thing she said was, "I like to be at home with my dogs." And Vince was like, "Access granted." See, and that's the kind of and it's like I said, I don't like the fact that people get released, but it's business decisions. Sometimes people don't cut it for them. Sometimes they want to invest in different people. Sometimes they feel like this person isn't going to change, or sometimes they don't feel like paying these people. WWE is not the only company that does that. It was WCW did it, ECW did it, AEW did it. A lot of these independent scenes do it. Now, the difference between independent, especially on the level of what I do, is that we aren't under contract. But some companies will say, okay, well, we're going to bring you back. They don't bring you back. A lot of wrestlers can attest to that. A lot of wrestlers can attest to when somebody says, oh, well, we're family, we're here, we're this and that, we're going to make it together, and then you wind up not getting booked. When I was talking about mental health with wrestlers, some people talked about it, and even on their Facebook, they talked about how when they wanted to step away to work on their mental health and conquer their mental illness, people would not book them anymore because they felt like they wasn't a part. Or sometimes people don't respond to emails or messages when you're trying to book. I try to do everything right when I wrestle, whatever like that. Usually I do when I book too. Usually when I do have a different card to bring other people in, sometimes I have that already planned out. And sometimes the people who I do usually bring in, they have other shows or anything like that because these people aren't contractually obligated to wrestle for me. You get what I'm saying? So that's one of those things. We don't have contracts or whatever. We're on that level to have contracts and stuff like that and have exclusivity and stuff like that. That was one of the worst answers ever. Yes, with Cassie Lee. Shout out to Atlas. I just see he just got in here. Yeah, because the thing was, people was getting behind Cassie Lee because she had a great match with Asuka. And they believe she had like, what was it, Talking Smack, some show. They like really believed in what she said. And then the fact that she said she just wanted to be at home with her dogs. You can't really be mad at Vince because that's who she said it to when he made sure she got with the dogs. But anyway, going back to it, like on the independent level of quote unquote being released, it's not really like a release unless they just stop booking you. But sometimes they won't have a need for you for certain companies, or sometimes they'll go off of other people's reasonings for not booking you, whether it be rumors, lies, deceit, or anything like that. So the thing with releases is no different. Like even AEW, they've had their fair share of releases of people quitting or walking away or something like that. Like it all happens. And like I said, you can always bounce back from it. With some of these releases though, and I'm not saying the current one, because I don't know. I'm not one of these people that just try to sit here and be like, oh, well, they did this because of this and that, the other. I'll go off of what have been said and even what some of the people have said as well. So when you think about some people who did get released and then you see how they act outside of WWE, not even just WWE, Impact, AEW and stuff like that, you can kind of see why they got released in a way, kind of. Like for example, this young man right here, well, old man now, like this dude, a lot of people are upset with, and rightfully so, because of what he said about Vince and Vince McMahon's mother. Like this is not. People have been getting on this dude since he got released, right? But let's not forget that this dude, a lot of people was behind him at one point before he opened his mouth and before CM Punk really kind of exposed how this guy was. And then when he left and then they brought him back and then got released again, the guy was very problematic. And he still is because of what he does on Twitter and what he says to certain people and stuff like that. I remember he had a poll where he said that he wanted to wrestle at a company, and then they said, where should I go? And most people said retire, because a lot of people do not like what he say. A lot of people don't like the venom that he spews and stuff like that. So it's just like, okay, well, we see why you got released. Now we see why some people won't book you. The sad part is people will book him still because people will want that money. Now, especially with everything with the speaking out movement, I hate to say it, as important as that movement was, it kind of died down because nobody was consistent with it. It just felt like it was something to do because COVID hit. And I like I said, people obviously stopped booking Joey Ryan, but a lot of people took off the content they had on YouTube, but then they brought it back. Like you can look at a lot of these companies, they brought back those views because Joey Ryan gave them millions of views and stuff like that. So it really died down. And with wrestling, it's always like a trend. Steven says, I'm not going to go off in the chat, but Mr. Ryan Roback was very disrespectful as of lately. Yes, and that's what I was talking about with Vince and Vince's mom, and then other stuff that he says about other people and stuff like that. So some of these releases, not even just WWE, they're very problematic. It's like this one, right? With Del Rio. They said this man allegedly had an ego. He didn't even want to start at NXT, but they really believed in him and they gave him a chance. And like I said, this isn't just for WWE. But the thing was, the hot topic was WWE releasing these people from NXT. But anyway, he had a thing where he first got released because of the situation in the back where a guy was like making a racial joke. So he went upside the guy's head. And then when he got released, a lot of people were mad at it, but people knew how he was, especially with everything going on with Paige. Then he came back, had a crazy storyline with Zeb Colter, aka Dutch Mantel, and Jack Swagger and stuff like that. Then wound up leaving because I believe it was the wellness policy. Same for Alberto, he burned bridges as well. Yeah, I believe it was something with the wellness policy. One of the reasons why he quit, because he was upset about issues with the wellness policy. So with people being upset with WWE for releases, they were like, okay, well, WWE didn't give him a fair chance. So he went to certain companies. He wrestled there. They gave him belts. He beat Bobby Lashley for the top title in Impact, but then they were still having like issues and controversy with him and Paige because Paige was still signed and he was not. And then you heard the rumors of WWE trying to break up that relationship with abuse and all kind of stuff. You heard all those rumors. You heard all that crazy stuff, right? And then even Impact. He went to Impact. He was supposed to face, I forgot who he was supposed to face. Might have been Austin Aries, who's also on this list too. He's supposed to face Austin Aries or something like that, but he didn't show. So he didn't show to the show, and he got in trouble for it. They stopped booking him and stuff like that. So it's just like, some of these are justified because some people are playing in any company. And that's not just something that you should do. A lot of people had issues with Mr. Rush about certain things, even before he he went into WWE. One of his last matches, he took a power bomb through a table off a ladder and he no-sold it. And honestly, that made my blood boil because I don't like when people just no-sell for no reason. I'm sure you get a pop, you go viral or whatever like that. But I knew that he was very talented or whatever like that. I would never take that away from him. And then when Emma got released, he made a joke on Twitter saying, I guess she wasn't ready for Asuka. And the floodgates of hell opened up on this young man. Like, so many people was upset with him. Like, a lot of WWE wrestlers, a lot of fans, they were just upset with him. A lot of people just did not give him a chance. And then I believe he got released and he came back. Dang, everybody coming back. He was on NXT and everybody liked him on NXT as a cruiserweight champion. It was just a redemption story. And then eventually he was the manager for Bobby Lashley. I thought that was a great combination. Like, don't get me wrong, I love MVP and Bobby Lashley. Now it's MVP and almost changed the channel. But we'll see where it goes from there. But I thought the Almighty thing, that was dope. But then you heard attitude issues again. Then you heard he had a falling out with Mark Henry and they wasn't cool. And, you know, Mark Henry is one of those guys that was very loyal to the company at one point. Yeah, that was immature. Yeah, it was crazy. But then he went to AEW. He went to AEW. He was off and on there. And then the situation with Big Swole happened. I don't have a picture of her, but not saying she was toxic or anything, but the situation with Big Swole happened, and then he took to Twitter and he started talking about it on Twitter. He's, you know, hey, Tony Khan don't know this and he don't know that and blah, 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 blah. Then he said they talked to him, they talked to each other, and then like the next day he said that he was going to be his contract expired. So it's stuff like that. Like my thing is, we don't know everything about some of these guys on why they get let go or why they quit and stuff like that. And sometimes it's their fault and sometimes it's not. I'm hearing allegedly that Willie Mack is cut from Impact Wrestling after Impact promised him a 6-figure deal. Now, I don't know where Impact got 6 figures from. This ain't a joke. But I believe they said that they cut his contract because they didn't want to pay him that. So I don't want to say, oh, well, these people is just their fault. You know, companies aren't exempt neither. Like I said, WWE released a whole bunch of their people and they've been doing it for the longest. You can start your own wrestling league, FEW, Future Endeavor Wrestling, because it just, they released so many people at one time. But yeah, they're saying that Willie Mack was supposed to be there for a while, but WWE, Impact didn't want to pay him. So this is the kind of stuff that happens, you know. Speaking of Impact, look at what happened with Austin Aries, right? So Austin Aries was one of those ones with Neville was upset because their match was cut off the WWE thing and they didn't get like a bonus or whatever like that. So when he left, the wrestling world loved Austin Aries to the point that he was a belt collector, right? He was a belt collector. Like every company was giving him their title or secondary title, and he ran with it. Steve says, hence why he retires every second. That's true. And I've always said, not even just him, it's a lot of wrestlers that do that. It's like in their blueprint. If they wrestle for the WWE, they retire for a couple months and then they wind up wrestling. Because like I said, they probably need that break. But going back into even the Austin Aries thing. So a lot of companies were behind this man and they wanted him as their champion, their top champion. He was what called the belt collector. He came in to Impact, defeated Eli Drake, now LA Knight in NXT or WWE now, and he had a whole bunch of belts. So a lot of people was putting their belts on him. A lot of people believed in him and everything. So when it was time for him to go against what did he call himself? What did John Morrison call himself in Impact? Johnny Impact? I believe that's what it was. So when he beat him, after the Starship Pain, Austin Aries just got up and walked away like nothing just happened. It just, you know, first of all, this business is already exposed as crazy as it is and as it sounds. But the fact that this man decided to just do that because maybe he didn't want to lose. Like, you have some people that are toxic in this community that actually wrestle that's supposed to support and protect the community. You know what I'm saying? You do have a lot of people that do come in there. They just do whatever they want to do, or they feel like everything is entitled to them. The world don't owe you nothing. So if the world don't owe you nothing, what do you think the wrestling world owe you? Nothing. You get what I'm saying? Here's one. This is like one of the most biggest ones that people talk about. This guy. Even when he was signed and how he felt that he was bigger than life and larger than life and wanted all of this money and wanted all these deals and all of that stuff, was unsafe, was botch-tastic, no soul to pedigree. Y'all remember that? Like Austin Aries, Steve says Austin Aries has some type of attitude that ruined his career. I wouldn't say ruined his career. See, with wrestling, you have to do like something so foul for somebody to ruin your career, to the point that nobody wants to book you. And that's the thing. You know, I think like Joey Ryan is one of those ones I don't think people would ever book, but he did try to come back. And if nobody said nothing, he definitely would have that show definitely would have happened. The one that had a whole bunch of AEW wrestlers. But it's like I said, Austin Aries, he's doing the thing with CYN, control your narrative and stuff like that. I'm gonna do my own research on that company before I make a video and have judgment on it and stuff like that. Because a lot of people get mad when people make certain decisions, social decisions that they don't like. Now, some people who do work there are a piece of crap for what they support and how they support it and what they say. But I can't put that on everybody, because I know some people that I talk to actually want to wrestle for them soon. So I'll do my own independent research on that to understand. But going back to Ultimate Warrior, you heard the stories, even like Dark Side of the Ring. You heard about how he treated people and how he held out for more money and wanted a lot of money and stuff like that. And then how he even broke Bobby Heenan's neck, yoking him up and stuff like that, and didn't want to lose to certain people and all of that stuff. And then they finally let him go, and then they brought him back, and then just the up and down thing. And then he was also horrible in WCW and what he did and how they were acting and stuff like that. It was just a whole bunch of crazy stuff. And then, a lot of people weren't fans of what he did in his personal life or whatever like that. So yeah, you do have a lot of these wrestlers that's needed to be let go and to don't even need to wrestle. But we're living at a time where people just want to make money, and it doesn't matter what they do and stuff like that. People are probably going to book them because people are going to pay to see it. They're going to pay to do anything. They're going to pay to say that they hate them and stuff like that. Releases are not new, and I don't think they're going to go anywhere, especially if you have a huge roster full of people that you probably don't want to pay. A lot of people get on WWE because they have a lot of not sure what you have spoken on, but a crazy release was Enzo. Okay, we'll speak on that real quick. Shout out to Shaq Out. What I'm talking about is we're talking about like releases and stuff like that. We're talking about the process of releases and even how like the independent circuit, like their forms of releases. And then earlier I gave my opinion on some of the people who did get released. But yeah, with Enzo had that accusation. And it's a slippery slope, honestly, because they were like, he got in trouble and he got released and stripped for the cruiserweight title because he didn't tell them that a woman was accusing him of of rape, basically. Now, the issue that I see is maybe he didn't know that a woman was accusing him of that. Like, you just don't, I don't think like some people just wake up every day, check everything and see that kind of accusation. And then the thing was, apparently it was a lie. I'm not 100% sure, but nobody, like, they didn't hire him back. They didn't apologize to him or anything like that, because they said that he had an attitude and a lot of people didn't like him. He was one of the reasons why Neville left, aka Pac, and now he's in AEW because just didn't see anything good in him. And a lot of people were cracking jokes about him being let go. Even some of the wrestlers, they were like wearing the shirts he was wearing and like mocking him and stuff like that. Now he's on the independent scene, making a name for himself. People are booking. I know, shout out to SWE. They book him, and people still book him for shows and stuff like that. But that was a slippery slope, and they to just let him go and then not even make a statement afterwards. They're like, well, they don't have to. But anyway, going back to the releases. Releases do happen. It's unfortunate. Sometimes we understand them and sometimes we don't. And sometimes it doesn't have to do with the wrestler. Sometimes it has something to do with the company as well. But it is unfortunate, but sometimes it is for the better. And sometimes it does make the wrestler, it puts a fire more into the wrestler to say, okay, well, I'm going to work hard so you guys can bring me back, or I'm going to show you guys that you've missed out. Like, for example, Matt Cardona, aka Zack Ryder. Now, with him, I think he really is just trying to show WWE what they missed out on. And I believe, and he said it, he said if the money is right, he'll come back. And I think he's really trying to show these guys what they were missing out on. Now, like I said, Zack Ryder was one of those ones, well, Matt Cardona, I'm sorry, he was one of those ones that he made a name for himself in a company that didn't even want to bat an eye towards him with his YouTube channel. And his YouTube, and I'm not even gonna lie, my brother-in-law, he was the reason why I started watching Z Long Island Ice. I forgot what the name of it was, but he would look at it, and I looked at it too. I was like, man, this is interesting. And then you hear "Let's Go Ryder," woo woo woo. This was in matches he wasn't involved in, and when he was in Long Island, people, that's all they wanted was Zack Ryder and stuff like that. He came out and people loved him, and then he had the United States title. And they squandered that with the Kane and the John Cena and the Eve Torres storyline and stuff like that. And after that, he was winning stuff and he was losing stuff, and they let him go. So now he's a belt collector, similar to Austin Aries, but I don't hear nothing bad about him. And, you know, I think he's really trying to show Vince McMahon that he missed out on a talented wrestler. And that's a good way to do it. You know, a lot of people are like, well, he needs to let it go. But I'm like, you don't know what was promised to this man. And this is the thing about releases, is that Z True Long Island Story. Thanks, Steve. That's the thing. Like, some of these companies, and even on our level, promises people so much stuff and then winds up not telling them why, or just go ghost on them and stuff like that. I can imagine a lot of companies saying they're going to make you a champion, and then another person comes in and they want to put the belt on them, and then you get knocked down to the totem pole or something like that. Those are bad business decisions, and I hope to God that I don't have to make those kind of decisions. But if I have to, it'll be straight up. It won't be no, oh, I'm gonna just hide from you and not tell you nothing. You know, with releases, it's all about carrying how you carry yourself. But the WWE seems like the more scary, the scariest place to go, because you don't know when you're going to go. And it doesn't matter about your contract, because they can just cut you like that. And that's the thing about even signing contracts. Make sure it's something that you like and something that it benefits you at the end of the day. You got to know it. You have to read it. Yeah, if you need a lawyer, get you a lawyer. Understand the game. I mean, like I said, WWE ain't the only one that cut contracts. We just talked about how Impact was just cut Willie Mack's contract. And some of these companies, they're trying to save money. And, you know, a lot of people like love that AEW books a lot of people, or they have a lot of people and sign a lot of people. But you do have some people that are leaving, and you also have people that are quietly leaving because they felt like they were going to have a higher position. They probably thought that they were going to get money, and they probably thought that their contract was going to be extended, but it was not. Steve says, Matt Cardona, Matt Hardy, and Colt Cabana made selling on the internet hot at the time. Every company does. It's business. Yep. He's talking about how to use the internet, which a lot of people are using the internet to get over, to sell product, to let people know when they're in town, for people to get behind them and stuff like that. Matt Hardy did a great job with it. And even when he was in ROH, and even doing the Woken thing, or broken, whatever you want to call it, it was a good thing. WWE is no different than MLB. The teams, when they think they can do better. Yeah, it's that. And it's not even just WWE. It's a lot of these companies. Like, I do feel like eventually some of these guys in AEW will fade out. And it's like nothing against AEW, whatever like that. Those are like the business decisions. The guys that you're bringing in, these guys are veterans and solidified. And you're going to bring in some new guys. I wouldn't be surprised to see like Dakota Kai in WWE. Parker, Boudreaux, I could see him going on independents or whatever like that. I could see them doing other things. But that's not my place to say where they're going to go. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I want to say that with WWE and the pro sports, it's kind of similar because they do waive, you know, athletes and stuff like that, or they cut people, or they may even get them a 3 game contract or whatever like that. You know, with WWE, you just don't know. Like, you had people, what was it? Hit Row, they had just signed a contract. And they said it was like a long time contract with WWE. And then they wound up cutting B-Fab. And then they wound up cutting the rest of the group. So it's like that kind of happens in sports sometimes. You'll be drafted to one team, and then you wind up getting traded for a first draft or something like that. Like it's kind of the same. It's similar, but it is different. But like going back to the AW situation, yeah, but there's one word that separates them. Oh, pro sports. I get I get what you're saying. But going back to even AEW, it's just like, some of these guys, like, we don't know who all left, but some of these guys were just on a contact handshake basis where they weren't signed to All Elite because you never saw a graphic for it or anything like that. But they're sticking around because hopefully they will get booked or anything like that. I'm sure they're getting paid well and all of that stuff. But these are the kind of things that happen. So, a lot of people's opinion is, which is true, they did sign a lot of people, but we'll see what they do with that or whatever like that. I do feel like some of the guys are at the end of their contract or whatever like that, and some don't want to extend it and some do. It's just one of those things. Some people feel like maybe they can do elsewhere. You also got WWE probably calling people and letting them know, hey, why don't you come here? A lot of people probably would have bet money that Roxy, aka Roxanne, now that's on NXT, would have went to AEW over WWE. But like, look at everything that's going on with that. You get what I'm saying? Hope and pray she has wonderful success for whatever she does. But releases happen. That's all I'm just trying to say. It sucks. Some of it is more. It seems like more, especially from WWE, is wrong more than right. But sometimes, we just like, well, this person should have been this and this person should have been that. And I've done that a lot when WWE releases people, or even AEW or even Impact. Like, oh man, this person had promised if you did this, you could have did that, and blah, 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 blah. And unfortunately, it didn't work out, regardless of what it is. Most of it is probably disputes. But like I said, we don't know everything. We don't know 100%. What if the people had attitude? I just showed you a whole bunch of people that has like a negative effect on them on stuff like that because of what they say and how they handle things and stuff like that. Even on the independent scene, you have people like that, that don't be booked at certain spots, or they gotta like go all the way to other states to be booked because they have a bad attitude or whatever they post on their Facebook, Instagram, and social media sites. Like those kind of things aren't new at all. So those are these are like important aspects to think about. If I'm booked somebody and they have a bad attitude or they're unsafe or they're cursing, I do family friendly events and they're cursing or whatever like that, and they're very inconsiderate. I'm not booking them, and I'm probably going to tell people who I know that are cool with me who do book, because I do talk to a lot of people. No, this person doesn't have it. This person is very unprofessional. And I've always said that. I was like, there's so many people that say that they're professional wrestlers, but they're not professional at all. So that's the thing. I'm not even talking about professional as in the money thing. I'm just talking about how you're carrying yourself, being very professional, like you would be at your job, hopefully. But we'll see where that goes with that. With releases, just hope that they overcome it, which I know many of them will. Like I said, a lot of these people I don't know or I've seen, and I don't remember their name or how they looked, because some of those, majority of those were on NXT level, next level or whatever like that, and they were like making a name for yourself. I'd say hopefully nobody else will be released at this time, but especially with WWE, man, it seems like somebody just wakes up and says, you know what, let's just release some people. And it sucks because, like I said, I really felt like they could have did something with Dakota Kai. Even Malcolm Bivens, even though he didn't want to stay, rightfully so, he might be doing something with MJF. We don't know. But that was it. I just wanted to cover some things about like releases from other companies, from the highest to highs to the lowest of lows and stuff like that. I just felt like I wanted to talk about it. I know a lot of people have made videos about these releases, and a lot of people are upset on certain things. Let me speak about this real quick before I go. Let's talk about like the Mustafa Ali situation. Now, a lot of people were upset because he wanted out of his contract, and WWE said, no, no, no. This is the part of the contract thing that I was talking about. Like, that kind of sucks, but at the same time, it's a contract that man signed. And I always thought it was a bad idea because I remember when Brody Lee, rest in peace, and it was somebody else. It wasn't just Mustafa Ali, it was somebody else. I think Dax from FTR, they were saying when my contract, I wanna leave. Like you made it public to your job and to everybody that you wanted to leave and that you wanted to release and stuff like that. That you made your company look bad that you wrestled for. So they'll be like, nah, you gonna stay and you gonna work your contract out. And sometimes they have contract extensions if you have an injury. If you out for a couple months, WWE makes them obligated to actually, continue the contract. But I think they do that to be petty. Be careful with the contracts that you sign and stuff like that. And it's probably not a good idea to embarrass the company that you work for. Oh, I want to leave. I want to release and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, cool. You probably do want one. You'll probably do better at other companies, but it's probably not the best to get online and say, you know what? I want to leave. I want to go. It's not like me if I go to my job and say, I just want to quit. I don't think they're really going to be like, please stay, or you have to stay through contract or whatever like that. But it's just those kind of things you got to be careful with. Maybe they do find something in him. Maybe they want him to do a demographic. Because like I said, like he had a lot of promo stuff and things together that I was like, man, y'all should really do something with this. Y'all should really pull the trigger on this. So we'll see where it goes. Maybe he's just doing his contract so he can leave. Because maybe, who knows, man. He says Dakota Kai could have been a good superstar or legit worker. And that's the thing. Like I said, I love underdog stories and stuff like that. Like the stuff with Ray and stuff like that. I like that kind of stuff. Even Dominic, when he went against Seth Rollins at I believe it was SummerSlam. I like that kind of stuff. You get what I'm saying? That stuff works for me. I like that. And I felt like I said, Dakota Kai's storyline with Rhea Ripley being like a bully and him intimidating her, I really liked that. Like that was pretty dope. And and they changed Dakota heel, and she was healing with Raquel, and they won the titles twice. And then a few days later, they lost the second reign. Raquel got called up, and then Dakota just got let go. But it's like Dakota felt like they were not going to do something with her. So she was like, you know what? I'm out. In the words of SpongeBob. Some people do be out. That was Shayna Baszler. Was it Baszler? I could have sworn she had a feud with Rhea Ripley. I know she did have one with Shayna Baszler as well. I do believe that one, that she did act that way as well. I think it was something with the Mae Young. They did something. But yeah, I do remember that with Shayna Baszler. Yeah, I remember that one for sure. It's rough when talent is sitting there contracts out of home. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, Steve, I think, I remember that. That was a Shayna. I believe the real one, if there was, I'm going to look into it. I could be wrong. My fault if I am, because I don't want to mislead. But I do remember the Shayna Baszler one, and Shayna was the bully and stuff like that. If they did that with Rhea, it must have been a short feud. I don't think it was as long as Shayna. I'm going to double check. With that story, it was Shayna. Okay, yeah. So going back to Shy Guy's comment, talent is sitting there. It does suck, because some people just don't want to sit on their behind and get paid. Some people do want to be noticed on TV. Some people do want that opportunity to wrestle, and then they can't even get that because WWE has nothing for them. You hear a lot of stories in the background where people say, oh, well, I had to sit down. They sent me home because they had nothing for me to do. And that sucks because some people go months to a year because WWE doesn't have something for them to do, or any other companies as well. we heard the rumors about Brian Cage. They were saying like he had just got re-signed, and we've heard that, and then after that, we haven't seen him since. Now it could be a personal issue, it could be anything. Like I said, we don't know, but that's the kind of things that happen because a lot of people thought that Brian Cage was going to be out the door, and he still might be. We just don't know because his wife said something, and his wife felt like he was treated better. Rhea was when Dakota was heel and teamed with Raquel. Yeah, I remember that, but I could have sworn it was something for the UK women's title. Like I said, I could be wrong. I don't want to take up your guys' time and look at it, whatever. I don't want to be rude or whatever because I didn't have that in my material. But I'm going to sign out because I'm tired. I'm probably going to do more. Well, for the following next week, I want to do midnight lives again because my work schedule it keeps changing. So I usually like doing them at 5:30, but yeah, we're gonna do midnights. Before I head out, make sure you subscribe to the Take Home Podcast on YouTube if you have not. Make sure you subscribe to the C3 Ultimate Wrestling channel on YouTube as well. As you see below, my contacts on Facebook and Twitch, and check out C3UltimateWrestling.com. Make sure you guys come to the show June 18th. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a great show, man. We back. I'm proud of that. I'm proud that we back. We're going to have some shows. We're going to have some matches y'all never seen. If you're in the Wisconsin or you're in the Wisconsin area, we in Appleton, baby. Big money. But other than that, I just wanted to speak about that from my perspective. Shout out to Steve. Shout out to Shy Guy. Shout out to I know Alice was in here, Delisa, Daniel. Shout out to a lot of you guys that did tune in. If you are looking at this and it's not live, thank you for spending time with me. I hope you guys have a wonderful morning. This is Chris Classic. Let's take it home.